Watch The View from the Bay online, streamed live thanks to Comcast.
The important question for parents, is it okay to spy on your kids? We'll look at both sides of this question with our next guest. She's a criminal investigator, mother of 2 teenagers, and the author of The Ultimate Betrayal. Welcome back, Danine Manette.
Thank
Good
you.
to see you.
Hi, Danine.
Thank you. Hi.
You know, before we even ask you what side of the question you come down on, tell us briefly what the pros and cons are of spying on your kids.
Well, there's 2 schools of thought. There's a school of thought that believes that spying on your kids is not a good idea because it's not a good way to communicate with them. You should trust them. You should have open dialogue. And it just builds resentment and makes it more difficult to find out information down the road. The other school of thought feels as though, you know, these are my kids. The human brain is not even fully developed until you're 25. So therefore, I need to know what's going on in my kids' lives at all times. And I need to be aware of what's the decision-making process they're going through and what's happening with them.
Now, you're the mother of 2 teenagers?
Yes, 14
Which side
and 16.
do you come down on?
I come down on the side of monitoring. I don't really call it spying. I call it monitoring, and I call it parenting.
Do they know that? Do they know that you're monitoring them?
Absolutely. And see, that's the difference. The difference is whether or not you're sneaking around and looking behind their back, or whether they're completely and fully aware of the fact that mom is going to be checking in on things, and they are completely aware of that. There's no secrets.
And you started that conversation with them, I bet, at an early age, right?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Yes, I did. And they're aware that I'm going to be checking up on things. I'm going to make sure I know their friends' parents. I'm going to make sure that I'm monitoring their online activities. I'm going to be on top of things at all times.
Well, let's talk about the computers because kids are on it all the time, doing their homework or just doing some social networking and chatting or looking at websites. What should we do when it comes to the computer? I mean, one thing you say is like put it in a public place.
Absolutely. That's easy right off the top. Make sure the computer is somewhere that's visible. Kids are much less likely to access inappropriate content if they know that mom's going to be looking over the side while she's cooking dinner saying, hey, you know, what's that site you're looking at? That self-monitoring thing kicks in, and they become more aware of the fact that they're being watched, just like in the workplace. People know that they're being watched. You're not resentful about your boss watching you, but the fact is that you're being watched. It's the same type of thing.
Now, mom can't always be peeking around the corner, though, so how do you monitor the sites they visit? How do you know what they're doing on that computer?
Well, you always do a history check. You make yourself the administrator on the computer so that you can add whatever software is necessary. If you feel as though there are a lot of things going on that you need to know about, there are all types of web programs. There's eBlaster, there's Web Watcher, things that give you real-time snapshots of what's going on the computer that you've installed the software on. And there's also things called Net Nanny that keep the computer from being able to access certain sites that you have deemed to be inappropriate for that computer.
Like what about their MySpace, Facebook page? How do you monitor that?
Well, I'm actually a friend on both of my kids' pages. My older son, I'm a friend on his MySpace, and I'm my younger son's Facebook friend. And I don't make any noise there, but it just allows me to keep an eye on what the conversation is and what's going on. And they know that I'm not going to go back and make all kinds of noise and cause problems, but at the same time, I need to monitor what's going on as best as I can.
Your kids have you listed as a friend, but some kids might say to their parents, well, don't you trust me? Why are you spying on me? Don't you think I'll do the right thing?
It's not about trust. It's about the fact that we're in a new world now. This is a new society. Every time you open up turn on the computer, you're opening up your home to millions of strangers. And it's just about monitoring and being aware of what is going on. This is a new voyeuristic era where it's not important to do unless you're being watched doing it. You've got the Twitter, they've got the webcams. And so, you know, you've just got to be really vigilant about paying attention of what's going on in
Kids
these
are so
rooms.
naive sometimes.
They
I mean,
are.
they don't realize, they're not fearful at all that somebody could be finding them, but people can get online and look for anybody now these days.
I mean, you have 1,000 friends online, and you know, it's like, you do really know 1,000 people by name? You don't. So it's just really being able to monitor them closely.
Now, what about video games? Because a lot of those are interactive. You know, you play with somebody somewhere else.
I don't think that it's a good idea to open up online gaming options for your child unless they completely and totally, or until they completely and totally understand internet safety guidelines. Otherwise, I just don't think that's a good idea.
So we've covered computers, right, and video games, cell phones?
Cell phones, something just as small as monitoring the times text messages are coming in and going out. Is it during math class or science class? Is it 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning? If that's something that you deem to be a problem, then that's something that you need to monitor with your kids and make sure that you're aware of something so simple. There's also programs. MyMobileWatchdog.com. They offer a service for $9.95 per phone, per each of your kids' phones, and it will give you a complete breakdown of all of the text messages and everything that's going, the content of the messages and everything.
That's amazing.
And if you feel that's something that you need to be aware of, then that's a resource for
Does
you.
examining the cell phone bill give you any information, any useful information?
It does. It gives information about who they're talking to, what times they're talking to these people, for how long. If there's a particular number that's maybe long distance, maybe it's somebody they've met online, that gives you a clue that maybe there's some type of communication going on that perhaps may be inappropriate.
Do you speak with your kids' parents? I mean, your kids' friends' parents, and like keep an open communication with them?
Absolutely. That's old-fashioned parenting. That's not text messaging their parents or Facebooking them. That's knocking on the door and saying, hey, this is my kid. I'm Ryan's mom. I'm Cedric's mom. Nice to meet you. You know, that's being able to just have a conversation and dialogue with them, establishing a parental network, because just because your child has not told you something going on in their life, that doesn't mean that their friend has not told that parent, their parent. And you need to always make sure you have that open communication and dialogue. Parents so busy wanting to be the best friends with their children and are forgetting the fact that they need to parent.
Well, we need to point out to our viewers that all the tips you gave, the websites and the software, spyware, whatever, you can find on our website. Danine, as usual, great information. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Danine.
We'll see you folks next
anytime.
week. Take care.
On The View from the Bay,
Let us be your guide.
Monday, an inside look at Napa Valley's newly restored Rhine House.
Great guests. Thank you, Spencer. Good times.
Women rule.
And of course, good food.
The View from the Bay, Monday.